You followed all the steps, right? You picked a niche, you built an offer, you started posting content consistently, but you're still not getting clients. So you go back to the drawing board, right? Maybe I need a better funnel, a cleaner bio, a different social media platform. But what if the reason you're stuck isn't the thing you think it is? Like there's something coaches almost never say out loud. This strategy feels exhausting. Not challenging in a good way, but like deeply exhausting. Like something in you keeps resisting it, even when you know what you're supposed to be doing. Like that feeling isn't a mindset block or imposter syndrome. That's a signal. And it's trying to tell you something very specific about why you're stuck. The coaching industry sells you a very tidy picture of how getting clients works, right? Pick a niche, build an offer, create content, and close clients. And if it's not working, you're told to do more of it or do it better. And that framework isn't wrong, it's just incomplete. It skips over the part that actually explains why so many heart led coaches, right, who follow every single step, are still struggling, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. And this is what I've seen over and over again. Coaches who are aligned with how they're built to work get clients with far less friction than coaches who are running strategies designed for someone else entirely. And the difference has almost nothing to do with talent or experience or how hard they're working. But stay with me because what I'm about to share isn't another checklist. We're going to go to the root of the struggle, right? The thing underneath the strategy that determines whether any of this works. Now, and when clients aren't coming, your mind immediately goes to strategy, right? It must be the wrong niche, wrong offer, wrong platform, right? Something's wrong. Wrong caption formula. I mean, the list is endless. So you do what seems to make sense, right? You consume more content, take another course, you try a new approach. But that diagnosis has a problem. Right? Strategy fixes only work if the underlying problem is the strategy. And most of the time, it's not, right? The signal that you're reading it as I'm doing the wrong thing is actually I'm doing the right thing in the wrong way for me. Okay. There's a nuance there. The question most coaches never ask is whose strategy am I running? A strategy that was built for a high energy manifesting generator, right, with a massive network will quietly fail in the hands of a projector who needs recognition before she speaks. It's like wearing someone else's clothes. Like the strategy technically fits, but it just doesn't move right, right? It binds in places. So the real question isn't what am I doing wrong? It's what does my body do when I try to do this? Your body is already sending you a very specific signal about which parts of your strategy are fighting your nature. In human design, this signal is called your not self theme. Now, think of it as a check engine light for your business. For generators and manifesting generators, that signal is frustration. It fires when you're trying to initiate and push things to happen instead of responding to what's in front of you. If trying to get clients feels like pushing a boulder uphill every single day, that frustration isn't telling you to push harder. It's telling you the direction is wrong. For projectors, the signal is bitterness. Okay? This feeling shows up when you share your wisdom without being invited or recognized first, right? You create incredibly valuable content, post it into the void, feel invisible, and then wonder what's wrong. Nothing's wrong with your message. Your approach needs to leave room for recognition, not just all of that action and volume. Then for manifestors, the signal is anger. This fires when your freedom to create or initiate is blocked somehow, right? Often by strategies that require you to play by someone else's rules. So if an engagement strategy feels like a trap, your design will resist it. And for reflectors, the signal is disappointment, right? That pervasive sense of, is this all there is? This often means that the environment around you is wrong, not your effort. And you don't have to be a human design expert to use all of this. Just ask one question. Like, does this feel sustainable or does this feel like forcing? Because these feelings don't just show up emotionally. They're connected to the private thoughts that you have every time you work on your business. And those thoughts ultimately create your results. It works like this. Okay. So you have a situation, which leads to a thought. That thought creates an emotion, which drives your expression, right? Expression meaning the actions that you take or don't take. And those actions then create your result. So most coaches try to fix the result, right, of having no clients by changing the expression, right? Those actions, executing that new strategy. But they skip the thought and emotion part, which is where the real power is. Like that's the fuel behind the action. Now, going back to the situation, that's neutral, right? You don't have clients yet. That's just data. From there, you can then go down two paths, right? Path A is an unconscious or unintentional path. Your thought may be something like, this isn't working. Something's wrong with me. I need to fix this. I need to fix it fast. The emotion connected to any of those thoughts might be anxiety or desperation. That emotion is what fuels your actions and expressions. So it almost doesn't even matter what the actions are when you're being driven by that anxiety or desperation, right? Like that thought and emotion combination, if it doesn't get felt and examined, the result will stay the same. You will repel clients with that fear and anxiety, which will then, of course, confirm your original thought to begin with that something is wrong. Now, path B is a more intentional and unconscious path. Your thought may be something like, I'm in an early phase. I'm learning what resonates. Something is building here. And the emotion that connects to that may be curiosity or groundedness. And that is the energy that will show up in your actions and expressions, right? Maybe that means you'll be producing content that sounds like a real person or giving invitations that don't carry, a lot of pressure. That results in momentum. Maybe not always fast, but a real momentum and compounding momentum. So the thought is the lever, not the tactic. So before you get on your next sales call, check that inner story, that inner thought you're having. If the thought is, like I need this person to say yes, notice that. And notice the emotion that that thought creates inside of you. And then shift it to something more intentional and aligned, with your true self. I'm here to help this person. I'm here to help them see what's possible. Now, here's the part that might be uncomfortable. You can hustle your way to a client using a strategy that you hate, right? I've seen it. Like a coach follows a high volume outreach strategy and, books 3 clients. It worked, but it felt terrible. So she stops and then is back to 0 clients. Like when this happens, this isn't a failure of discipline, right? It means your strategy doesn't match your design because your nervous system tracks the cost of every strategy. So if a method requires you to consistently work against your natural energy, something deeper will eventually pull the plug on it. Because the internal message becomes like, if this is what success requires, I don't want it. Then the resistance builds until the action stops. And so when you follow someone else's system, you're also absorbing their urgency and their pressure, right? You're not just running their tactics, you're kind of running their energy. And if it's not your energy, it'll drain you faster than it moves you forward. So the test for a sustainable strategy is does it feel like you're using your natural gifts or does it feel like you're performing? Because performing is a constant drain, but using your gifts generates its own momentum. So here's how to actually make this change. So first, stop borrowing and start translating. Okay, so it's okay to still look at what's working for other coaches. But then always ask, how would I do this in a way that fits my own design? Like, so translate it into your own natural energy and style, right? Don't just copy. And the second, do a little audit of all the client getting activities that you do. Audit it for force versus response. Okay. So make a list of everything that you're doing to attract clients. And for each item, ask yourself, does this feel like I'm responding to an opportunity or like I'm forcing an outcome? Okay. So anything on that forcing list is where you're going to stop first because you probably don't need more activity. You need more aligned activity. And then third, check your core thought before every sales conversation. Shift it away from I need this person to say yes and toward, I'm here to help this person. I'm here to help them see their situation clearly. Right? You're here to serve, not to close. And potential clients feel that difference and they choose accordingly. Remember, getting clients isn't something that you do to people. It's what happens when you're clear and aligned and being genuinely helpful. So here's what I want you to leave with. Struggling to get clients is almost never a strategy problem at its root. It's a signal from your energy, from the very design that you were built with, that something in your approach needs to shift. And when you diagnose the struggle correctly, the solution stops being do more and starts being do this differently. And differently doesn't mean harder. It means more you. The coaches who stop struggling aren't the ones who found the magic funnel. They're the ones who stopped fighting their own design and started working with it. And if you want help figuring out what that looks like for you, right, your design, your business, there's a link in the description to book a call with a member of my team. Together, you'll look at where you are, right? What's actually in the way for you and how to move it out of the way. And if you haven't watched any of my other videos, there's one on how to create an offer that sells. There's another on choosing a profitable niche, right? And both of those go deeper on what we covered today. So I'll be sure to put the links in the video description below, and I will see you in the next one.